Arabia, the land of the offspring of Ishmael, son of Abraham, the brother of Isaac, is bordered on the east by the Indian Ocean, on the northeast of the Persian Gulf, on the north by the Arabian Desert, and on the west by the Red Sea. The most fertile region of this peninsula is the south and southwest. At one point, it almost reached Ethiopia, which is Africa. There were many Kushite tribes, or Ethiopians, living in the northern, western, and southern sections of Arabia. The Arabians have had a long history of intercourse with the Ethiopians in the peninsula of Arabia and with the Ethiopians across the Red Sea in the continent of Africa. James, the author of Travels to Discover the Source of the Nile, writes that the people in Yemen, Arabia, particularly those of the coast opposite of Saba or Sheba, were reputed Abyssinians or Ethiopians. From the earliest periods till after the Muslim conquest, many of the Arabs are not black today because of the crossing with white slaves in their household and harems. And this is not referring to the Inquisition. This is referring to the time that the Moors were at the peak of their rulership. And if you look at the paintings, you can find, for example, paintings about black people in castles. And these black people in castles are defending it from an enemy that looks like the white man. You're gonna find out that most of Europe isn't actually part of Europe because it was part of Africa. For a long time, these places were part of Africa because of the very fact that darker people would live there, from Greek to Great Britain. So I'm gonna talk about that soon too. And I know Big Judah is already talking about it a little bit.
Days of pointing to other groups and say, look at what these people did to you, look what those people did to you, but I'm your brother. Those days are over with. What we have to understand is that Psalms 83 is pretty much anyone who does not follow our power. And I had a situation I talked about in the live last night on YouTube, how I was at a basketball game and there was a bunch of these Persians there. He had an issue with a ref, so-called Negro brother, and he fixed his mouth to sit there and yell to his wife and say that he kicked me out of the game because he knows that he's beneath me. Now see, these people think that they are above us. Everyone thinks that they are above us. But then in our faces, they'll sit there and try to push the, hey man, we're all equal, we're all brothers, man, we all need to work together because the system is oppressing all of us the same way. And that can be nothing can be further from the truth. These people hate us. They don't care about our suffering, but they're quick to want us to join hand in hand with them and pray for them, want justice for things that happen to their people. All the while, they ignore our plight and the things that our people have gone to. And that will continue no more. You guys, the Persians, you Arabs, whatever else, just because the world tells you that you are the ancient people from these areas doesn't make it so. Now that you guys are bringing up the fact that Ish has no ties to that land, how do we know that you have ties to those lands? How do we know you guys are cousins and you're saying that those people don't belong there? How do we know that you belong there? Because Palestine, last time I checked, was a Hamitic land, was a land of Hamites. Egypt is actually Mizraim, another Hamite, a line of Ham. So if the Ethiopians are Hamites and Canaan were Hamites and they have the curse of Ham and they were supposed to be in perpetual slavery, then how is all of a sudden you are supposedly Palestinians, Canaanites, Hamites, you're supposed to be the exact brothers and sisters of Ethiopians, but you hate so-called black people? You think the so-called black people are beneath you? How does that work exactly? You know that you actually just copied our information once again. See, this is about the whole revelation, is that you aren't who you think you are. You aren't as great as you seem to think you are as well. Your history, who you think you are, you've stolen from us. And this is why these books have been hidden, so that you can run around here thinking that you're better than everyone else or thinking you're better than us anyways. But the truth is going to come out and it's going to catch you slipping like it's going to catch you right now. Quick review, the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 29. You're going to see why they hid all this stuff right here. Chapter 1, verse 13. And it came to pass that certain of the Druids came unto Paul privately and showed by their rites and ceremonies they were descended from the Jews, which escaped from bondage in the land of Egypt. And the apostles believed these things, and they gave them the kiss of peace. A bunch of you Arabs now are sitting there and admitting the fact that the people that are over there in the lands aren't the Israelites. You know those who aren't the Israelites, then you must know who they are. Now I'm showing you that in Acts 29, the Druids and the Israelites were synonymous. They were the same people. So let's see where you got some of your history from. Ireland, Ur of the Chaldees, by Anna Wilkes. So right here, Arabs preserved many Celtic significations and many legends, customs, and religious rites. Oh, I'm sorry, Arabs. So you thought you came up with all this stuff and that you were the originators of this information? No, you weren't. You jacked that, just like you guys are all jacking stuff from us and acting as if it was yours originally. Again, Arabs did what? Preserved many Celtic significations and many legends, customs, and religious rites. Many of the rites that you guys practice, yeah, that came from us. So please miss us with the, oh, we're superior, you're beneath me. What is called Arab tradition is often corroborative of Celtic tradition, as well as Old Testament history. Qadar Idris to the Arabs signifies the holy place of Enoch. Strange, this should be the name of a mountain in the Principality of Wales. The Arab history of Ad and Thamud, Hud, Salah, those who dwelt in Al-Ras, and the inhabitants of the woods near Midian is singularly enough drawn from the traditions preserves in the verses of the Okaz, bearing almost perfect resemblance of the triads of the who? Of the Druids. Okay, the Okaz or holy field suggests the idea of religious teaching. The Akkad, okay, of Genesis is not only one of the beginnings of Nimrod's kingdom, for from it as an institution arose the Akkads of Ireland, the Akkads of Arabia, the Academy of Greece. How near this bears upon the Cadmus, which is said to have introduced letters into Greece, is better seen when we consider that the Phoenician alphabet had like an old Irish, but 16 letters. Just so you know that you jacked the Israelites, and so did the Greeks. Right here. That the Hebrew and the Irish languages reciprocate many of their words is as true as that the people who once spoke Hebrew had a common origin with those of the Celts. First, by the Greeks, who were nearly innocent of who the Gadals or Gales were, and of their country, even in the time of Pythagoras, who nevertheless has acknowledged he was taught much of his philosophy by one of their country, the Druid Alberus or Alberus. This fact has the advantage of special authentication. And if we are to see anything in it, it is that there was a high state of civilization and learning in the land of Arborus, while the philosophy and learning of Greece, this next page, was as yet unsystematized. Okay? And as its people only striving to know how to perpetuate their glory. So please, stop with trying to act as if somehow you are better than, or that you have more knowledge and understanding, or that we are beneath you, because trust me, we are not. Okay, we were put down for a time, but now we are being raised back up. So if you want to go ahead and show us the proof of where you had all this knowledge before and that this was originally yours, just because they changed the pictures and they whitewash things and make it seem as if you, and they just tell you that you were there all the time, doesn't make it so. We have the receipts and we have information that proves that you just jacked our information, that you made certain books and certain chapters of books, you outlawed them because you see the connection between the Israelites and the Druids. You're doing our job for us. You're admitting the fact that they're not the people. But then you won't go as far as to admit who are the people, because then you'll realize that, oh, we learned all this stuff from these so-called Negroes. We learned all this stuff from these so-called black people. And we got all this information from them, and then we lied about it and made it sound like we were the originators of it, when we never were. Thank you, Father, for bringing this information together. And thank you for choosing us and turning your face back to us. Shalom.
They want to mix up these things all the time. The thing is, with the Arab men, with Ishmael at the moment, and Keturah, because they are mixed with Keturah, remember? The problem is the fact that they mixed with these white Slavic people. And these indeed are the same people that indeed are the same stock of Gomer. The Jewish men never actually talked about that time. They always go back, and especially Dr. Brown, they always only go back to the Second World War. And in their little 4 years that they being enslaved by the German men, their own kin, by the way. So it's a bit weird that they don't go back towards the time that the Moor was in its peak power, before that the Inquisitions happened. And that the Inquisitions was literally just against us, like seriously. But they trying to pretend as if white Jewish people were also involved in the Inquisition, but that's not even true. They were not involved in the Inquisition, and the time that they were being enslaved, they're not even talking about that. It is a known fact that there were Ethiopians inhabiting Arabia in the southwest and the southeast. How did these Ethiopians establish domicile or residence in southwest Arabia? Because Ethiopians lived around the Persian Gulf in northern Arabia, it is highly probable that they migrated towards the southeast and the southwest. It is obvious that the Kushites inhabited vital parts of Arabia before the birth of the progenitors of the Arabs. Ra'ama, the son of Cush, was the father of the Kushite, Seba and Dedan. And in Genesis 10 verse 7 you can read, "And the sons of Cush, Seba and Havilah and Sabta and Ra'ama and Sabteka, and the sons of Ra'ama, Sheba and Dedan." And in Ezekiel 27 verse 22 you can read, "The merchants of Sheba and Ra'ama, they were thy merchants, they occupied in thy fairs with chiefs of all spices and with all precious stones and gold." About 2000 BC, the descendants of Havilah resided in southwest Arabia, which is Yemen. This Havilah was the son of Cush. Moreover, Cush was the patriarch of all Ethiopian tribes in Babylon, Arabia, India, and on the Nile River. The Kushites were residents of Arabia soon after the confusion of the tongues at Babylon in 2047 BC. But Ishmael, the father of the Arabs, was not born until 1896 BC. My conclusion is that Ethiopians were in Arabia before the Arabs.